Hi. In researching a denomination which isn't my own, I chose to study the Presbyterian Church. My final research project is going to be on Confederate revivals during the Civil War, and General Thomas Jonathan Jackson, who helped spark those revivals, was Presbyterian, so I thought it'd be worth looking into. I thought I'd bring up Stonewall Jackson because his nickname is a good way of describing Presbyterian theology. Presbyterians believe in a Calvinist theology, in that God is in control not only of people's eternity, of whether or not they go to heaven or go to hell through double predestination, but also that he is in control of events. Thus, Jackson believed he didn't have to worry about his own death even in the midst of battle, since it was up to God whether or not he should live or die, and hence he stood like a stone wall in the midst of bullets and shrapnel. Mark Noll noted this providential emphasis, evident too in other American denominations, but especially important among Presbyterians. He wrote that Stonewall Jackson had been sustained or killed for reasons that God made plain, or that Lincoln was assassinated because God knew he was too compassionate or too stern to do what Reconstruction required. Thus we see that Presbyterians didn't always agree on what providence entailed, but they certainly agreed upon the role of providence itself. Presbyterianism developed in Scotland from the Reformed theology of John Knox. In America, some of the earliest colonialists were Presbyterians in the 1640s, and in 1706 the first American presbytery was formed in Philadelphia. Later, it especially became popular on the frontier with a simple Bible message of being saved by grace. Presbyterians derived their name from their form of representative Republican church governance, with ruling and teaching elders, deacons, and the congregation forming parts of the vote. It is a confessional faith, meaning the church body sets out their beliefs together, the primary basis of which is the Westminster Confession, which is Calvinist in theology. Two important Presbyterian theologians included Gilbert Tennent, who was influential in spreading Presbyterian revivalism during the Great Awakening, in which he preached the everlasting liberty of being free from sin, and Charles Hodge, who as professor at Princeton Seminary maintained old-school Presbyterianism with its Calvinist doctrine, and who saw the purpose of life as glorifying God rather than seeking self-happiness. Other leaders were influential in the political field, such as John Witherspoon, president of Princeton University, and the only minister to sign the Declaration of Independence, as well as Andrew Jackson, Lincoln, who was raised Baptist but attended a Presbyterian church while he was president, William Jennings Bryan, Woodrow Wilson, and Ronald Reagan. Many other Presbyterians focused on societal reform, such as abolition and temperance as well. Like most Protestant churches, there were a number of splits. There was a split caused by the Old Side versus New Side controversy in the 18th century, and the Old School versus New School controversy in the 19th century, with some churches wanting to stress their European traditions, and others wishing to emphasize their American revivalism. There was a split over the Civil War between Northern and Southern churches, which only saw a reunion in 1983. Today, there is a trend toward splitting along conservative and liberal lines over such issues as the ordination of women and homosexuality. The Presbyterian Church in the United States of America, for instance, is more modernist, while the Presbyterian Church in America is more biblical.